What to say when you don't know what to say. We've all been there. Even in our native languages, we've all been there. When you're thrown a question and you have to respond, or you're put in a situation and you just don't have the words to enter the conversation yet, I'm going to go through some great phrases in different situations for what you can say when you don't know what to say. And this could be whether you need to pull up numbers, you need more time to think, you don't quite understand what they're saying, you need to think a bit more on it, or you really need to dive deeper into a topic. So don't worry, I've got you covered today. We're going to jump into this topic pretty deep, and we'll go through different situations when you can say something when you don't know what to say. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Melissa B. Duarte. I'm the author of the Global Business English Mastery Series. I'm here for all things business English. Let's get started. Okay, the very first situation we have is when you need some time to think. So this is called buying time. And there's a couple different phrases we can use when we need to buy time to find an answer or to think about what you're going to say. Now, the first one, you probably know this, but there's a little bit of nuance here between saying, give me a second, give me a minute. I need a second. I need a minute. So someone asks you a question and you just need a second or a minute to either pull up the numbers, to pull up the data, to go through your files, to find the information, or to compose in your head what you're going to say. Now, if you say, give me a second, that can be up to a minute. If you say, give me a minute, that can be up to like 3 minutes, maybe four. Four is pushing it. So if you are going to take 2 minutes or a minute and a half, don't say, give me a second. If you're going to take 10 seconds or 30 seconds, don't say, give me a minute. It makes people a little confused. So give me a second or give me a minute. Give me a second means up to a minute. Be really quick to get that for you. Or give me a minute means it will take a little bit longer. Now, why is this important? It's incredibly important. I've been in meetings when I asked someone for some numbers, and it was just a one-on-one meeting, and I asked for some numbers. And the person I was talking to, I said, do you have any stats from the last project you worked on? And they just didn't answer me. They leaned forward and started typing on their computer. And I'm like, 'cause it's an online meeting. And I'm thinking, okay, did they hear my question? Are they getting the numbers? Is there an audio issue? Are they replying to an email or a WhatsApp that came in on their computer? I had no idea what they were doing. So you really, especially in an online meeting, you need to tell people what you're doing. So if you do need to buy time to think, you just can't be silent about it. You have to tell people, "Oh, give me a second, I'll pull up those numbers for you. Give me a minute, I'll pull up those numbers for you. I don't have the numbers in my head. Give me a sec, I'll get them for you." So you really have to tell people what you're doing. Otherwise, they're confused, especially in an online meeting. All we have is this to look at and your voice, right? So if you start leaning forward, typing something, are you typing something for me? Are you getting information from me or doing something else? I have no idea. So this is really important. So this is good. So if you are in a situation where someone asks you for numbers, for figures, and you have to tell the right numbers and say the right figures, well, make sure you tell them, "Oh, give me a second, I'll pull this up for you," or "Give me a minute to think." So it just means a little time to compose your thoughts and to compose your answer. That's a really important one. Now, another one, when you say, "Give me a minute to think," or "Give me a second to think," you can also say, "Give me a moment to collect my thoughts. One moment while I collect my thoughts." And collect my thoughts is a really nice idiom. It just means I'm bringing my thoughts together. And it doesn't mean I don't have the information. It doesn't mean I'm not professional. It doesn't mean I don't understand what you're asking me. It means your question is so important. I want to value it with a proper response. So, one moment while I collect my thoughts. Give me a second for me to collect my thoughts. It means I'm going to collect all my thoughts, everything I need to bring together to give you the proper response that you need and you're expecting and you want. So this is a very nice one. You can also say, if it's an online meeting, again, you can say, just a quick pause while I figure this out. So, or a quick pause while I pull up that information, a quick pause, a quick break, a quick moment. So that word quick, done lots of videos on meetings. The word quick is a great word. because meetings are long. Meetings contain a lot of extra information, a lot of extra things. People want to go in and out and get the job done. We want them short and sweet, and we want to get done what we need to get done and not have it unnecessarily long. So when you say, just a quick pause while I pull up the numbers, quick second while I do this, and you're just telling people this will be really quick, but at least again you're telling them what you're doing. So you're saying something without saying something. So when someone asks you for something and you can't answer because you need more time to think about your response, you need to pull up those numbers, you need to pull up the person's name. You don't want to make a mistake, right? Better to take time than to make a mistake. That's what you say. Also, if someone asks you a question or presents something to you and they go, "What do you think?" And you're like, "Wow, I've never thought of this before. I don't know what to say." Like, and you're kind of put in that moment where you do need more time to think about it. You can say, "Just a moment while I process that," or "Give me a moment while I process that." So that just means you're in a meeting and someone says, "What do you think about this idea? What are your thoughts on this?" Okay, I need a moment to process this. I need a moment to think about this. Give me a moment just to process this. So it just means, okay, I'm taking all this in, and at that moment you can pause. You can just hang out there in the meeting for 15 seconds, just going, okay, and take some notes, and that's perfectly acceptable. People know that you're kind of bringing in everything they asked, and you're composing what you would say back to them. It's not a bad thing to pause. It's okay. So don't be shy about saying that. That's totally fine. And again, if someone is throwing something at you really, really quickly and you need to buy time to think of your answer, and maybe again, they're asking you for an exact amount of figures or an exact name or an exact date. So let me just scan my notes quick. Let me just write that down. Let me just pull that up for you quickly. So it just means give me a second, give me a minute while I get that information you're requesting. All of these buys a little bit of time. It doesn't buy a lot of time, but this buys time for you to go to your next ones. But this is only for buying time. And next, we're going to move into repeating and rephrasing and restarting something smoother, and then when you really can't answer in the moment and you have to come back to them later. We'll get to that in the next slide. Okay, this next section is gold. And when we call something gold in English, it means it's valuable. I mean, gold. And this next section is gold. So what this is you're getting someone else to rephrase or repeat something, whether it's a statement or a question. And while you have that time, they're rephrasing and repeating the question, you have that time to formulate what you're going to say, to think of an answer, to pull up the numbers. And this is a two birds, one stone sort of situation. If you don't know this idiom, two birds, one stone, the whole idiom is kill two birds with one stone. Yeah, but nowadays we just shorten it to two birds, one stone. And this means one action has two results, basically. So, I mean, I'm sure you have the same idiom in your language. This is a pretty common idiom globally. Anyway, so this is a two birds, one stone situation because you're asking them to rephrase, repeat what they just said or what someone else just said. So if you did not understand a word in there, I mean, English is not your first language. If you didn't understand a word that they used or part of a concept or the whole concept of what they said, they're going to repeat it for you and probably use different words. They're going to paraphrase it and they'll probably dive a little bit deeper. So, in doing that, you're going to get more clarification, which will help you understand if you did miss some of the words in English or didn't know some of the words in English. And while they're doing that, the other half of your brain can sit there and develop what you're going to say and your answer. This is beautiful. This is so useful. So, what you could do here is you could say, "Can someone else repeat that last question while I open the dashboard, while I open my notes?" So, here you're saying if this is a big meeting, whether this meeting is in person or it's an online call, you can say, "Can someone please repeat that last question while I open my notes, open the dashboard, take the notes down, pull up the data?" So you're asking anyone, even if it's not the person who asked the question, even if it's not the person who said the statement, you can ask someone else in the room or on the call to repeat that. And as they're repeating it, and they'll probably use their own words if someone else is repeating what someone else said, or if it's the same person, they'll probably repeat it in a little bit longer way. So again, this is going to be great, gives you more time gives you a bit a deeper explanation of what they want or what they need or what they're trying to say. That's great. Another one would be, let me rephrase this to make sure I get this right. So here, what you're saying is this is not necessarily asking someone else to repeat it, but you're going to say, okay, someone mentioned something, and what do you think about going in this direction? I don't know. I haven't thought about that before. I need to think about it. So let me rephrase this to make sure I got this right. So you're talking about working with company B on project X and moving the deadline forward by 2 weeks. Is that right? So by repeating what they said to you, you're just speaking at the same time you're developing what you're going to say. You're developing your response. This is very good. Another one you could say is, let me make sure we're on the same page here. Let me make sure we're talking about the same thing here. So to be on the same page in business English, if you don't know what this means, it means you're on the same page as someone. You're on the exact same page of a book. You're in agreement. You're in understanding with someone. You're talking about the exact same thing. So just to confirm, we're on the same page here, and you kind of repeat to them what they said to you, whether it's a question or a statement. And while you're repeating what they said, you do have time to compose your thoughts and what you're going to say there. And again, sometimes we do drift, and drift is when your mind just kind of goes bye bye when you're in a meeting and you start thinking about something else, or someone brought something up and you're thinking about that. So if you did drift a little bit, you could just say, oh, would you mind restating that last point? And you wouldn't want to say in a meeting that you drifted off, but just say, would you mind repeating that last point? Would you mind restating that last point? Would you mind going over that last point? This doesn't mean you didn't pay attention. This doesn't mean your audio was bad. This doesn't mean you didn't understand what they said. It means nothing. It just means, would you mind restating that last point? Would you mind going over that last point? Completely fine. No one's going to think anything of it, and they will repeat what they said. And while they're repeating it, you can formulate what you're going to say. Okay, this last category is when you don't know what to say, and 30 seconds, 1 minute is not going to help you find the answers or compose your thoughts or your response or your input. This is when we're going to park something, just like you're going to park your car and pick your car up later after you do your shopping, after you go to work the next morning. If you park a thought, you park an idea, you park a suggestion, you park a question, it just means I'm going to leave it there and come back to it. Just like your car, you're parking something, you'll come back to it. So this happens to me often as a teacher of business English or a teacher of English. Students will ask me a question saying, are there any exceptions in regards to this bit of grammar? And I mean, I know a lot. I'm an expert in English, but I mean, English is massive. A language is massive. I'm massive. I'm not going to pretend to know everything. Nobody does. So if I can't answer that question 100% in the moment, I'll just say, great question. I'll circle back to that next class. Great question. I need to look into that and verify it for you. That's interesting. I think I know the answer to that, but let me double check to make sure I'm giving you the right information. So this is totally fine. It doesn't make you seem any less professional. It makes you seem more professional because you're aware of the importance of someone's question for you. So what I have here is a good one. I mean, if someone brings you a question in a meeting or a conversation or on a call, and you can't answer that question, or they present a thought or idea or suggestion to you and you don't know what to do with that or how to work with it, you just say, great question, great thought. I'll circle back to that in a bit. And in a bit could be in an hour, in a day, in a week. In a bit doesn't mean anything. And it could even be at the end of that meeting if it's quite a long meeting also. And then you can just say, now the key point we're working on now is this. So someone threw something at you which was really not on the agenda or what you were discussing. Great point, great thought. Let's circle back to that in a bit. I'll circle back to that in a bit. Now let's move on to this. Let's continue talking about this. So it doesn't really push aside what they're saying. It doesn't push aside their question. They're saying, great point. I'll circle back to that. Circle back means I'll come back to it. Let's park that for now and we'll come back to it, just like your car. Another one would be, let's park that question. I need to get back to you on that while I verify the data, while I pull up the figures, while I double check my thoughts on this while I find your answer, while I confirm the details, whatever the situation is. Let's park that question. um, and great question. Let's park that. I just can't answer it right now for whatever reason. You can tell them the reason, or you don't have to tell them the reason, but you can say, let's park that for now, or great question. Let's circle back to that. So park something, circle back to it. It's fantastic. And again, if someone says something to you and they're saying, what do you think about this? And if you need more time to think, just say, I can't give you a proper answer on this right now, but I'll follow up with you next week. I'll follow up with you later today. I'll follow up with you in an hour. I'll follow up with you at the end of the meeting. I'll follow up with you via email. So you're letting them know when you can go back with them. And again, if someone does pull up a question for you, or they pull up an idea or a suggestion, and you need to really research something, then you want to say dig. And to dig is like you're digging in the ground. If you're going to plant a tree, you have to dig a hole. Well, to dig means to research in business English. So you can say, I need to do a little digging on that and I'll get back to you. I'll circle back. I'll circle back to you on this one. And again, to do a little digging, it could be, I'll get back to you end of day. I'll get back to you end of week. I'll get back to you when I can. I'll get back to you right after the meeting. You're not saying when you'll get back, or you can say when you'll get back, but you can say, I need to dig a little bit on this, or I need to do a little bit of digging. And that means research. And people will appreciate the fact that you've valued their question or their statement, and you're taking that and you're going to do some research with that one. Okay, we've done it. Thank you so much for joining me for this small little video lesson. Hopefully now you know what to say when you don't know what to say. Thank you so much for joining me.